Let me set the stage for you. In the NFL, there are always updates. Transactions, depth chart tweaks, the day-to-day rhythm of a league that never sleeps. But every now and then, something happens that doesn't feel routine, something that doesn't just move across the ticker at the bottom of your screen. It feels heavier. It feels seismic. And when I tell you that what just went down in Cleveland had the weight of an earthquake, I'm not exaggerating. This wasn't just news. It was a shockwave that rattled through the entire organization, a moment that felt like the tectonic plates of the league shifted in real time. And here's what makes it different. It didn't come from some rumor mill on Twitter, or from a coach hedging his bets with vague words about competition. No, this came straight from the core of the Cleveland Browns, from the one man who embodies their toughness, their grit, and their identity, Myles Garrett. Think about that. The franchise cornerstone, the defensive monster, the leader in every sense of the word, stepped up and delivered a message that cut through all the noise. Garrett didn't give a careful, measured soundbite. He didn't dodge the question or throw out cliches. He snapped. His words weren't rehearsed. They came out raw, sharp, and unfiltered. And in that instant, he confirmed what the whispers had been saying and what Browns fans hardly dared to believe. Shedeur Sanders is QB1.
Tired of boring phone cases? Here's your chance. My Etsy shop is packed with exclusive designs that let you show off your team pride in style. And the best part, you'll unlock discounts when you hit favorite, more savings when you add to cart, and even surprise discounts on your second purchase. Don't wait. Click the link in the description and grab your favorite now.
Now pause for a moment and let that sink in. Shedeur Sanders isn't being told to wait his turn. He's not being groomed slowly behind a veteran, clipboard in hand, waiting for the season to unravel before he gets his shot. No, he's being thrust into the fire right now, in week 4 of the season, and not against some rebuilding bottom feeder, but against the Detroit Lions, one of the most dangerous teams in football. This isn't a test run. This isn't a training exercise. This is the real thing, a high-stakes matchup where the Browns are planting their flag and saying, this is our guy. This is the moment. And here's the thing about Detroit. They are not a soft landing spot. Dan Campbell's Lions aren't the type of team you want to debut a rookie quarterback against if you're nervous about what he can handle. Their defense thrives on chaos. They swarm to the ball, they hit with bad intentions, and they drag you into a street fight whether you're ready for it or not. They don't just test your physicality, they test your willpower. And Cleveland, by putting Shedeur Sanders in this exact position, is sending a very clear message. They aren't treating him as a prospect or placeholder. They're treating him as the future, and they're ready to prove it against one of the league's hungriest squads. Now, you might look at this situation and think it's reckless, maybe desperate. A rookie being thrown into the fire against Detroit's front seven sounds like a recipe for disaster. But when you really break it down, it's the opposite. This isn't recklessness. This is conviction. Because when Myles Garrett puts his stamp of approval on something, it means everything. This isn't just a pro bowler giving his 2 cents. This is the captain of the ship, the anchor of the defense, the one guy who has dragged this franchise through storms while the offense cycled through quarterback after quarterback, failure after failure. He's seen the hype trains that derailed. He's watched the first-round picks flame out. He's heard the promises that never turned into wins. Garrett doesn't deal in empty words. For him to stand tall and declare that Shedeur Sanders is QB1, that's more than an endorsement. That's a declaration of faith. And let's talk about Shedeur himself, because this is not just another rookie story. This is a quarterback who has been groomed for this exact stage his entire life. The son of Deion Sanders, primetime himself, Shedeur didn't grow up in the shadows. He grew up under the brightest lights imaginable, and pressure became his natural environment. At Jackson State, he turned heads. At Colorado, he proved that he could elevate even when the world was watching, showing poise, accuracy, and an unshakable presence in the pocket. This isn't a quarterback who panics when the moment gets too big. This is someone who seems to get sharper as the stage grows brighter. And when he arrived in Cleveland, he didn't ask for respect, he earned it. Teammates saw it right away. Coaches saw it during practice. Veterans noticed the way he carried himself in the locker room. He wasn't just learning the playbook, he was absorbing it, living it, commanding it. The ball came out of his hand fast, crisp, and precise. He started hitting tight windows that most rookies wouldn't even attempt. He built early chemistry with Amari Cooper, threading passes into spaces that only Cooper could reach. He connected with Elijah Moore in stride, showing timing beyond his years. And beyond the physical talent, what stood out most was his calm. In a collapsing pocket, when the pressure was crashing in, Shedeur didn't flinch. He stood tall, scanned the field, and delivered. And that's why this moment feels so different. Because for Cleveland fans, hope has always come with scars. They've seen it all. The first-round picks who never became stars, the veterans who arrived as supposed saviors and left as scapegoats, the endless cycle of promise and disappointment. The quarterback carousel has spun so long in Cleveland that it became part of the franchise's identity. Every time a new face arrived, hope flickered, and every time, that hope burned out too quickly. The scars of that history still linger, and no fanbase feels it deeper than the Browns. But now, something has changed. With Shedeur Sanders stepping into the spotlight, and with Myles Garrett's thunderous endorsement, Cleveland is daring to believe again. This isn't about filling time until the next draft pick. This isn't about pretending a project is ready to play. This is about planting a flag and saying this is our guy. This is our quarterback. This is our future. And years from now, people might not remember the exact press conference or the moment the coach made it official. They might not even remember the draft day celebrations. But they will remember this, Week 4, against the Detroit Lions, when the face of the franchise on defense declared to the world that the Browns had finally found their quarterback. Because when Myles Garrett, the warrior who defines Cleveland football, looks the world in the eye and says, "He's the one," that's not a soundbite. That's a prophecy. Shedeur Sanders is QB1. And from this moment forward, nothing about Cleveland football will ever be the same again. I need you to feel the weight of what's happening in Cleveland right now. This isn't just another quarterback controversy. This isn't just another week in the NFL cycle, where fans scream for change and coaches dig in their heels. No, this feels like a cultural earthquake, a generational shift inside a franchise that has been wandering the desert of quarterback misery since 1999. And at the very center of it all, standing tall and calm as if he was built for this exact moment, is a fifth-round rookie who was never supposed to carry this kind of pressure. His name is Shedeur Sanders, and he's rewriting the entire story of the Cleveland Browns before our eyes. Sports Illustrated dropped a 3,000-word feature on it, front to back, dedicated to what they call the Sanders effect. Now, I've read plenty of puff pieces about young players before. This wasn't one of them. This was a deep dive, interviews with former teammates from Colorado and Jackson State, people who knew Shedeur before the hype, before the headlines. And the way they described him, it wasn't about stats or mechanics or highlight throws. They painted him as a born leader, a guy whose presence in a room demanded attention, a guy whose influence stretched beyond traditional hierarchies, beyond position groups, beyond the usual rookie limitations. Some players lift their teams with performance. Shedeur Sanders? He lifts entire organizations with who he is. And it's not just narrative. The Athletics Browns beat writers started doing something unprecedented. They didn't just track passing attempts or completion percentages. They tracked his popularity. They measured how fans were reacting, how social media was spiking, how ticket sales were shifting. And the numbers were undeniable. This wasn't hype. This was momentum. Cold, hard data showing that a rookie backup quarterback was single-handedly boosting organizational metrics. Think about that. Jersey sales, ticket demand, media ratings, sponsor interest, all bending around one player who hadn't even started a game. The fan base. Starved doesn't even begin to describe it. Since 1999, Cleveland has been grasping for competence at quarterback, cycling through name after name like some cruel experiment. And suddenly, here comes this kid, son of Deion Sanders, carrying both the swagger of his father and his own unique calm, and fans latched onto him with unprecedented enthusiasm. Within 48 hours of one appearance, Shedeur Sanders' jersey was the #1 seller in the Browns team store. 847 jerseys sold on a single Monday. Compare that to Joe Flacco's total, 23. That's not a trend. That's a tidal wave. Online retailers couldn't keep inventory. Custom "We Want Shedeur" t-shirts, hoodies, even homemade signs became the unofficial uniform of Northeast Ohio. And then came social media. Cleveland's largest Browns fan page, over 400,000 strong, posted a clip of Sanders celebrating, and within 6 hours the numbers were staggering. 67,000 reactions, 34,000 shares, 12,000 comments. That's not just a viral post. That's a movement turning digital fire into fuel. But here's where it shifted from passion to activism. Fans didn't just cheer from the sidelines, they mobilized. Hashtags exploded. Hashtag Start Shedeur Sunday. They weren't just typing, they were producing. Elaborate graphics, edited highlight reels, statistical breakdowns showing why Shedeur Sanders deserved the job. Local radio stations fed the frenzy, dedicating entire segments to the question of his readiness. WKRK-FM even ran a listener poll: should Shedeur start against Detroit? 89% said yes. 89. For a fan base that has been betrayed too many times to count, that level of unity is almost unheard of. And then it spread. This wasn't just Cleveland anymore. Browns fan clubs in New York, Chicago, Los Angeles, Atlanta, they all began hosting watch parties built around Shedeur Sanders. Let me repeat that: not around the team, around the player. That's cultural power. That's when you realize this is something much bigger than football. Businesses cashed in too. Restaurants created Shedeur specials. Bars gave out discounts whenever his highlights appeared. Merchandise booths outside the stadium doubled prices and still sold out of Sanders-related gear. Downtown Cleveland suddenly had weeknight foot traffic again, not because of a playoff push, but because of the energy orbiting around this rookie. And the pressure? It suffocated the organization. By midweek, season ticket holders were jamming up phone lines demanding Sanders see the field. Corporate sponsors were calling, wanting to tie their ads to Sanders' name. TV ratings for Browns coverage skyrocketed. One local station recorded its best sports audience in 3 years, all because Shedeur Sanders was in the rundown. Even the mayor of Cleveland, Justin Bibb, mentioned him during a press conference. That's when you know it's transcended sports. The tourism board confirmed it. Out-of-state hotel inquiries spiked. Travel agencies started promoting Shedeur Sanders experience packages, game tickets, merchandise, and tours of Cleveland landmarks. Local artists painted murals. Ohio-based musicians referenced him in new tracks. Even comedian Drew Carey posted support for making Shedeur the starter. A rookie quarterback had become a civic icon without ever starting a game. And don't think the AFC North wasn't paying attention. Baltimore's defensive coordinator Mike McDonald admitted the obvious: we have film on Flacco. We know his tendencies. Shedeur Sanders is a different challenge: mobility, arm talent, extending plays. It changes the way you plan. Pittsburgh's Mike Tomlin, a master psychologist, put it more bluntly: when players and fans rally around someone like that, the energy becomes infectious. Even Cincinnati's Trey Hendrickson chimed in: Flacco's a statue. Shedeur moves. That's a different kind of problem. Respect was already being built across division lines. Inside the building, Stefanski tried to keep things normal. Media swarmed practice. PR tightened protocols. But Shedeur never wavered. He kept arriving early, grinding through film, working with quarterback coach Bill Musgrave. Veteran leaders like Joel Bitonio and Ethan Posick praised him openly. He's not letting attention change him, Bitonio said. That's maturity. Posick went even further. He's handling it like a 10-year vet. Those are words you don't throw around lightly. By Thursday, whispers grew louder. Sources reported Sanders was getting more reps. Even ownership was attending practices, watching closely, asking questions. The narrative was no longer if, it was when. Friday's press conference was must-see TV. Stefanski, visibly tense, declared, "Joe Flacco gives us the best chance to win." But his follow-up betrayed the truth. Shedeur Sanders has exceeded every expectation we had. That wasn't dismissal. That was a coach begging for patience, trying to slow down a tidal wave. Then came game day. Sunday morning, Cleveland felt like it was hosting a playoff game. Cameras followed Shedeur from the team bus to the locker room. The stadium was packed with Sanders jerseys. Tailgates blasted his highlights on screens. Chants of "We want Shedeur" shook the air before kickoff. Even his warm-ups were treated like primetime broadcasts, dissected throw by throw. And here's the bottom line. It didn't matter what happened against Detroit. By that point, Shedeur Sanders had already transformed the Browns. He had already won something bigger than a football game. He had won the hearts of a city starved for hope. He had altered the DNA of a franchise long defined by failure. That's the Sanders effect. A fifth-round pick, the son of Deion Sanders, dismissed by some as just another developmental quarterback, now standing at the center of one of the most fascinating cultural shifts in recent NFL memory. He's already proven he can electrify a fan base, energize a locker room, and command national attention. The only question left is the hardest one of all. When will the Browns finally unleash him? Because make no mistake, Cleveland hasn't felt this alive about a quarterback in over 2 decades. And whether he succeeds or struggles, Shedeur Sanders has already given this franchise something it hasn't had in a very long time. A reason to believe.